Okay, so here's a question for you. What happens when the government wants to deport someone, but their home country says, nope, we won't take them back? Well, there's a pretty controversial policy designed for exactly that situation, and it was just declared illegal. So we're going to break down how we got here and what this all really means.
Just imagine this for a second. You put on a plane and you're being sent away, but not to your home country. No, you're being sent to a totally unfamiliar nation where you have no family, no citizenship, basically zero ties. That's not a hypothetical. It's the very real situation at the heart of a huge legal battle happening as we speak.
And look, this isn't just some minor legal tweak. Just this week, a U.S. district judge basically took this entire deportation policy and struck it down, flat out calling it unlawful. And the reason why is a big deal. The judge said it violates one of the most fundamental principles of American law.
So, to really get why the judge made this call, we gotta understand the policy itself first. What exactly is it? How does it actually work? And how in the world did it end up at the center of this massive legal fight? Let's get into it. Okay, so this whole policy was basically born out of a specific problem. You have migrants with final deportation orders, right? But their home countries simply refuse to take them back. So what do? The government's solution, instead of just keeping them in detention forever, was to find another nation, what they call a third country, that would be willing to take them in. Now, the really crucial part here is how fast this all happens. A migrant might get just a few hours' notice, sometimes as little as 6 hours, before they're put on a plane. And that tiny window of time, that's everything. Because it leaves practically no time to file any kind of meaningful legal challenge. And that is the exact issue that landed this whole policy in front of a judge. And listen, this isn't just some abstract legal theory. We're talking about real people. The whole legal battle really blew up because of a specific case involving 8 men. They had final removal orders and were deported to South Sudan, a country torn apart by war and a place where they were total strangers. It really puts a human face on this whole legal debate. So, as you can imagine, this policy led to a huge legal showdown. And you've got two very, very different arguments at the heart of it all. Let's break down what each side is saying. And this really gets to the core of the disagreement. On one hand, you have the administration. They're framing this as a totally essential tool for law enforcement, arguing it's the only way to remove what they call the worst of the worst. But on the other hand, you have the challengers, civil rights lawyers who say the whole method is unconstitutional. Why? Because it completely robs a person of their chance to have their case heard fairly in court. Okay, so let's get to the judge's decision and see how this all played out, at least for now. The entire ruling, and I mean the whole thing, really hinges on one bedrock principle of the U.S. Constitution: due process. Yeah, the whole thing really boils down to those two little words, due process. The easiest way to think about it is like a legal rulebook for the government. It basically says that before the government can take away someone's life, liberty, or property, it has to follow a fair set of rules. And the judge's conclusion here was pretty simple. This policy basically takes that rulebook and throws it right out the window. And listen to the judge in his own words on this. He's basically saying, look, if you don't even know which country you're being sent to, how on earth can you make a legal case that you might be in danger there? You can't fight an unknown. It's impossible. This right here just perfectly shows how forcefully the judge rejected the government's whole argument. The administration was trying to say that, hey, as long as we aren't aware of a specific threat to the person, it's fine. The judge's response, it was blunt, it was powerful, it is not fine, nor is it legal. So here's the bottom line. The judge didn't just say the policy was flawed. He went further. He said it seems to be specifically designed to prevent the legal system from actually working. By moving so fast and keeping the destination a secret, it makes a fair legal challenge impossible. And that, he ruled, is a crystal clear violation of due process. But, this ruling is really just the latest chapter in what's been a long and super complicated legal fight. It is definitely not the final word on this, not by a long shot. I mean, this whole case has been a legal tug of war. Just last year, this very same judge tried to block the policy with an injunction, but then the Supreme Court stepped in and lifted it, allowing the policy to continue. And that's exactly when those deportations to South Sudan happened. So now, the judges come back with an even stronger, more definitive ruling declaring the entire policy unlawful. So where do we go from here? Well, in a really interesting move, the judge actually hit pause on his own decision for 15 days. This basically gives the administration a short window to appeal to a higher court, and pretty much everyone expects them to do just that. So yeah, this legal battle is almost guaranteed to continue.
At the end of the day, this whole case really forces us to wrestle with a massive question, one that has no easy answer. How does a nation balance its power to enforce its own laws with the constitutional right to due process that's guaranteed to every single person inside its borders? That is the real tension at the heart of this ruling, and that's the big idea you should take away from all this.